All right, welcome back to the Deep Dive.
It's great to be back.
We are ready to dive into another fascinating concept
Always.
from A Course in Miracles. Are you ready?
Absolutely. What are we looking at today?
We're on lesson 33,
Okay.
and we're working with excerpts from, of course, A Course in Miracles workbook for students.
Over the book, yeah.
So to kind of recap a little bit, like we were talking about last time,
Mm-hmm.
our thoughts creating our reality.
Right. Very important.
And this lesson kind of takes it a step further.
Okay.
And it really jumps in with this bold statement. There is no conflict, for my will is yours.
Whoa. That's a big one.
Yeah, I mean, on the surface, that sounds like,
Yeah.
how can that be?
Almost impossible, right?
There's conflict everywhere.
Because we see conflict all around us.
Yeah, exactly.
But this lesson is suggesting that there is this underlying unified will that's actually connecting all of us.
Like a common thread.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's saying that at that deeper level, there isn't really conflict.
So it's saying more like our perception of conflict is
Yeah.
what we're dealing with.
Exactly.
More than actual conflict.
Yeah, and it's like,
Yeah.
we were talking about that concept of divine will.
Right.
And I think for a lot of people that can sound,
A little woo-woo.
woo, yeah, a little out there.
But it's not really. It's more about
Wrong.
this understanding that there's something
Yeah.
bigger than ourselves.
And this isn't necessarily like
Yeah.
a religious
No,
kinda
it'd have to be.
thing. It's more like, have you ever had that gut feeling about something?
That intuition.
That intuition where
Yeah.
you're just like,
What's right.
I know, this is it, this is the thing.
Yes.
It's like
or a sense of purpose that's
the bigger,
growing you.
yes,
Like,
it's that kind of energy that we're talking about.
yeah, like you're plugged in.
Yeah. And it's that,
To a
it's
universal.
like that universal
Unity.
force for good and for unity and harmony.
That's always there.
Yeah.
We're just not always tuned into it.
Right. And so when we think about that
Yeah.
in terms of conflict,
Right.
it's like,
Then it makes it easier to understand,
if we're all kind of connected to that same source,
yeah.
how is there really conflict?
Right. At the core,
Right.
we all want the same things.
Yeah, we all want to be loved.
Joy. All.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so it's more about
Our perception
how do we,
of separateness
Yeah.
is really the illusion.
yeah, and I think it talks about how the ego is what kind of creates that
Yeah. The ego is the tricky part.
illusion of
The
separation.
ego loves to be right.
Right.
The ego wants things its way.
It's like my way or the highway.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
In
And so
fact,
when we're in that ego,
Right.
it's hard to see beyond it.
And that's where we get into those conflicts with people.
Exactly.
Where it's like, oh, well, my need is more important than yours.
Right.
Or I want this and you want that. And how can we possibly
Yeah.
come to an agreement?
What can we meet in the middle?
And so the Colossi is saying it's not that.
Right.
We don't experience disagreements
Mm-hmm.
or challenges because those are part of life.
Yeah.
But it's about recognizing,
Mm.
at a deeper level,
Yeah.
our true desires are actually in harmony.
In alignment.
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
think that's where it gets really interesting.
Okay, yeah.
Because it gives us these tools
Right.
to actually
It's not just theoretical.
put it into practice.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
It suggests things like meditation,
Meditation's huge.
focusing on that feeling of connection
Yeah, that helps us
to something larger.
get out of the ego.
Yeah. And especially when we're feeling conflicted.
Exactly.
So if you find yourself in a situation where you're like, ugh, here we go again,
Stop. Take a breath.
take a breath, meditate.
Yeah.
And, it also talks about affirmations.
Affirmations. I love those.
And affirmations can be a little,
They can be tricky.
yeah, they can feel a little cheesy sometimes.
Yeah, if you
don't really buy into them.
if you don't believe it, it's not going to work.
But in this context,
Yeah.
one of the affirmations that I think is
Yeah.
really interesting is, my will is in harmony with the will of God.
Oh, that's a good one.
And I think in
He
this
feels bigger than us.
context, it's not necessarily about
Yeah.
religion. It's about recognizing
Yeah.
that there is that,
Connectedness.
that greater force supporting us.
And it's hard to stay in conflict
Right.
when you feel supported by something bigger.
Yeah, it's like almost a surrender.
Yeah, a surrender to that,
To that
greater good. Yeah.
Greater good, yeah.
Yeah,
And I think that's really powerful.
absolutely.
And then, it also talks about reframing our conflicts.
Reframing is so good.
So instead of,
because if you can just change your perspective.
Getting stuck in that me versus them mentality to actually look for
that underlying
shared goal.
Yeah, the common ground.
So like, imagine you're having a disagreement with a coworker.
Oh, yeah. Classic.
Right. It happens all the time.
Everyone's been there.
And so, instead of being like, well, they just want to do it this way and I want to do it this way, and how can we possibly work together?
Yeah.
It's like, okay, what's the actual outcome we're both going for?
The goal.
What's the goal?
Yeah.
And if you can find that shared goal, then it's like, okay, well, maybe there's different ways to get there.
There's more than one way to skin a cat.
But as long as we're both headed in that same direction,
exactly,
we can kind of work together. So it takes that conflict out of the personal realm and puts it into the
it depersonalizes it.
The realm of
it becomes more objective.
Yeah, collaboration.
Collaboration.
And I think that is just so powerful.
Absolutely.
So if you're listening out there, I would say think about a recent situation where you felt that sense of conflict.
Yeah.
And see if you can reframe it.
Even just a little bit.
Even just a little bit, to be like, okay.
Yeah.
What's the underlying shared goal or intention?
Maybe there is one.
Maybe there is one. And you might be surprised.
You never know
what you discover.
Yeah.
When you look at it from that perspective.
Yeah, give it a try.
And that's what I love about A Course in Miracles.
It's so practical.
It's not just like an intellectual understanding.
It gives you something to do.
It gives you tools.
Yeah, you can apply it to your life.
To actually apply it to your life.
Right.
And I think that's what we're all really looking for.
Yeah.
So thank you for joining us on this deep dive into Lesson 33.
It's a good one.
From A Course in Miracles.
Lots to think about.
Yeah. We hope you found it insightful.
Yeah.
And we will be back tomorrow.
Can't wait.
With another lesson.
Yes.
From A Course in Miracles.
Looking forward to it.
So stay tuned.
See you then.
And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
And leave us a comment.
For more deep dives.
Tell us your conflict.
Into these thought-provoking topics.
Yeah, we'd love to hear from you.
All right, I'll see you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.